Hello everyone and welcome to Takagi-san Season 3 First Impressions Episode 2. The show with a name that's almost as long as the wait for High Dive to fix the damn OP. Yes, if you look now, they're using the right one, but I swear when I saw this episode on day 1, that DeviantArt looking Nishikata bored into my soul. Anyway, I hate to disappoint, but I didn't enjoy episode 2 nearly as much as I hoped I would. It has good moments, but we gotta get through some fillery content first. Starting of course with an adaptation of the manga's 105th chapter, Presence. I'm happy that they adapted Presence. I can tell that the show's composer had a lot of fun creating the music, and it's interesting to see the show experiment with dialogue-free storytelling. My issue is that it's a story where our main characters are separated, and thus doesn't add anything to the overall narrative, besides Nishikata's sixth sense for Takagi. To my shock, I'd put this story on par with the following B-plot story, and that's not because the B-plot story was any kind of improvement. Maybe I'll grow to appreciate Presence as the season continues. Last season I was able to connect every mainline story to the finale, so perhaps some time for retrospection will do this story some good. Next is an adaptation of the manga's 91st chapter, Bag Check, adapted to be a desk check instead. I'm going to be 100% honest. I've watched this episode 3 times as of writing this script, and I forgot that desk check was there every time. I know I'm being super negative right now, but I promise the good stuff is coming. I feel like this story almost belongs in Season 1, given how reluctant Nishikata is to even touch Takagi's clothes, despite having worn them by this point. But at the same time, Season 1 Nishikata probably wouldn't have agreed to a desk check in the first place. So perhaps the story is leaving some blanks for us to fill in ourselves, or just really needed to contrive a reason for Nishikata to lose. But now we get into the good stuff, an adaptation of Chapter 94, Library Committee Member, a story with a few early details that bode well for the season's future. First, Tanabe has a line about a culture festival committee. Culture festival usually spells out character development in other narratives, so let's hope that's a hint for an upcoming episode. Second, the showrunners have replaced the librarian in this story with Sane's sister, which means we could be getting an adaptation of chapter 134, Marriage. But of course the main point of this story is the pseudo confession from Takagi, stating her feelings out loud only to cover it up immediately afterwards. It's strange, this would be infuriating in most anime, but it doesn't even faze me here. Maybe because we already know Takagi feels this way, perhaps because we know we're in for a slow burn show. But what interests me most is the timing. That it happens right after Nishikata was caught staring at her and didn't commit to the out that Takagi provided. But I'm getting into analysis territory here, and I'll be saving that for the analysis itself when I'm working with a full context for the season. We end episode 2 with Sunset, an adaptation of chapter 115. This story is excellent. It has some classic teasing. It reinforces the point I've made in the past about how said teasing makes Nishikata stronger, and his little smirk at the end emphasizes how much he values Takagi's perception of him. Did anyone else notice that episode 2's ED song was different from episode 1's? It is the norm for the show to change EDs, but not this quickly. Does this mean we're getting a new ED every episode? I'm going to put here for the record that I've got my fingers crossed for a cover of Tsuki to Hoshizora, or the ED for Tonikawa Over the Moon for You, one of my favourite Japanese songs. I know a lot of this video was negative, but half the episode left me somewhat underwhelmed. Maybe I've been spoiled by episode 1 and too wrapped up in the show's ongoing narrative to appreciate Takagi-san's bread and butter of simple teasing stories. Episode 2 is a net positive, even without Library Committee Member and Sunset. Perhaps if I go into episode 3 expecting less status quo shattering stories, I'll enjoy it a lot more. But for now, that's all I have for this first impressions video. I'd like to thank my patrons: Orion Tran, Lars Espen, Data52, Jaman5, Lemon Shark, Pixcalibur, Alberto Cruz, Tyler Bennett, Tentka, Jeremy Pashik, Fireclaw, Soran, Christopher Wang, and Will. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you next time.